Hey guys, this is Pastor Tito. Welcome to a brand new youth series that we're doing right now called Family Matters. Now, I love the title because, I grew up in the 80s and 90s and it just brings me back. Every time I hear Family Matters, this is what pops in my head. Okay, so I'm going to try to communicate this while not being distracted by that theme song in my head. But this whole series obviously is focused on that. It's not just focused on family, but focused on the role of faith and family, when it works and when it doesn't. Now, when I say the word family, just think about it. What do you think of? What do you associate when you hear the word family? Maybe there's things that you've come up with that are like, that's awesome. But then you think of this and this is awful, right? You could probably everything in between when it comes to your family. Look, we all, and here's the one thing that we all have in common, all right? We all have dysfunctional families. There's not one family that's perfect, not one. We all got that crazy uncle. We all got that psychotic aunt, all right? We all got that brother, that sister, that weirdo here and there. We all got those we look up to. We all have those that bother us, right? That's family, right? There's no such thing as a perfect family, all right? Which family gets complicated, right? And one of the things that gets complicated is when your faith sometimes does not mix with people in your family. Jesus said it wouldn't. Jesus said that sometimes, listen, and there's a verse that he talks about this. It says, you gotta love me more than you love your mother, your father, everybody. In fact, he says, if you don't hate them, it's like you don't love me. Now, obviously, the clarity of it, Jesus is not telling us to hate. No, it's this word that he uses that shows us and talks about how our love for God should be so radical compared to our love for even our family that it should look polar opposite the way love and hate are. Our love for God should be so extreme compared to even just our love for mom and dad and for everybody there. But what do we do when faith and family doesn't mix? When you feel like your faith is calling you and leading you to do this, but then there's people in your family that are calling you and leading you to do that. What do you do? Well, and also actually I got one other thing. What happens when everybody in the family claims to have the same faith, yet everybody inside the family even keeps fighting, even when they claim to have the same faith? Well, here's something, and I'm going to show you something that Jesus did that can help us learn what to do when it comes to faith and your family, and how to approach and how to operate your faith in your family. Well, in John chapter 13, we see Jesus, his final act before going on the cross. He wants to have dinner, one more last dinner with his adopted family, with those apostles, with those the top 12, right, that were with him. He wants to have dinner with them, and this whole thing starts with the big argument about who's bigger, who's better, who's greater. Who's going to be, when Jesus is all said and done, who's going to be the most important? And there was also a big fight that was happening between the disciples because during the cultural time, all right, during the Jewish culture, if there was not a servant in the house to wash the feet of everybody, then whoever was on the bottom of the family totem pole got the dirty job, all right? And there was no slave there. There was no servant to wash the feet of the apostles and Jesus. Jesus walks in, everybody else walks in, and everybody's looking at each other like, I ain't doing it. I ain't touching your feet, man. I ain't touching my feet, no. That was what was going on. And everybody was arguing about who was greater because no one wanted to do that job. And while Jesus was fighting, while everybody else was fighting, Jesus stands up in the middle of the fight, takes off whatever robe he had, okay? He didn't get naked, that wasn't the case. He puts on and looks and takes the position of a servant and begins to wash the apostles' feet, and the fighting stopped. And I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing? Peter was the only one who broke the silence. I was like, what are you doing? You can't do this. You can't do this, Jesus. And he said, I have to. I must. And he does it for a lot of reasons, but then he finally says, listen, you guys seen what I did? Yeah. This is what I want you to do for one another. We need to treat ourselves. We need to act in a kind of way and treat others like the way Jesus was treating them. Jesus didn't even, if there was anybody there who didn't deserve to do that, it was Jesus. Yet Jesus even didn't hold the fact that he was God, fully God. He didn't hold that against them. He didn't feel too good to serve someone and even get a little down and dirty. And listen, that's the model. When there's fighting inside the house, maybe your dad ain't the kind of, or your mom ain't the, or whoever else. Listen, Jesus says in the same way we ought to wash each other's feet. Now, I'm not telling you to go take off your daddy's sneakers, mom's slippers, and start going at it. I ain't saying that. you know, unless God's telling you to do that. But it's a position of slave. It's a position of a slave, and really it's a position of a servant. That's what it is. Don't feel like you're not, you know, too good to do that. I'm like, no, they don't deserve. Oh, but did the apostles deserve to have Jesus wash their feet? No. So Jesus tells us to do something towards others, even if they don't deserve it. In fact, that is what will speak volumes when you do. To love in that kind of radical way. So when it comes to your family, you need to understand what matters most. It's love. It's the love of Jesus. In fact, when it comes to faith and family, the love of God is what matters most. And you have an opportunity to display that kind of love in the way you serve and honor your parents, serve and honor your siblings. You can display that love when you worship and when you worship God and you serve others in that way. Now, what does love look like? Well, Paul tells us what love looks like in that famous chapter in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. He says, listen, love is kind, it's patient, it's this, it doesn't hold record of wrong. Means you're not holding back what your dad, what your mom, what your brother, what so-and-so said to you or did to you a long time ago. You know, you forgive them in the same way Jesus forgave you. It's patient, it's kind, it's so many things. And so, in fact, let me just read a few to you. It says, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, it does not boast, it is not arrogant, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, meaning it's all about me. It is not irritable, not easily bothered and triggered. It doesn't keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. That's love. And when it comes to faith and family, what matters most is the love of God, and you have an opportunity to display your faith to your family when you serve in this way in love. So I want to challenge you. I want you to go back and look at 1 Corinthians 13 and find just one of those love elements. Find one of those descriptions of love. And I want you to do one of those things. Practice that one thing this week. Pick one of those. And I recommend pick the one that's the hardest one for you. And really focus on how can I love my family? How can I serve them the way Jesus served the apostles? How can I serve them in this way through this one example of love? I guarantee you that when you do that, you are gonna see a difference. Your faith is gonna grow and your family is gonna grow in love, and things will change. Maybe not to the time and to the pace that you would love to see it, but listen, that's what matters most. You can plant that seed when you love, and not just love out of you, no, it's the love of God. So pick one of those things, apply it, let us know how it goes. Hey, we're here, we're a church family, so we're here with you to help you walk out and discover your faith so you can apply it in every area of your life, especially when it comes to your family, because your family matters to God.